flexible being in business and running your own business can be if you let it make it work. And I was in Rockhampton this morning, jump on a plane, get home, and now we're talking to people around Australia and beyond around rules and guidelines. In my own home.
I love that you just jumped off a plane.
At least it's not a long haul flight where you have you're still trying to work out whether, you've got the right clothes on and your shirt's on the right way, but it's just an easy. I've done that before.
I've been doing a course this morning in the States. There was one other Australian in it, but the rest were, not that I'm Australian, I'm a Kiwi, but living in Australia. And, but I love it. It felt like I was right there in doing the course with them all. And
that's so good.
It was wonderful. So, Jenni, great topic for us today.
It is.
Talking about rules, guidelines, and getting it right on socials and your website, etc. And I have to say, one thing that just blows my mind is how many people don't have, for example, a privacy policy on their website. Or yesterday, I taught a workshop and I suggested to them all as a project that they might like to do is to go and audit each other's website, just a little mini audit. So I said, I'll choose one of you later on and I'll do it as an example, and I recorded it on Loom. And I said, and I'll talk through it, all the things that you want to be looking for, and then you can do each other. So the first thing I noticed when I got there is that they didn't have their security certificate installed on there. So that, so when you look at the top along the URL, and instead of looking at their website typed in there, it says not secure. It's like, oh, in that instance, you would never hand over your email address, and you certainly wouldn't ever make a purchase or anything.
No.
So that's interesting to me that there are people still doing that. And in fact, recently, I was looking at somebody who on their website that makes websites and does digital marketing for people, and they had the same thing on theirs. And I was thinking, my goodness, so many people anyone can decide they're going to, do that as a business, clearly, but also how awful for people that are putting their faith and trust in getting something done by so-called experts, and then actually not even realizing that what they're getting is not actually going to be the right thing.
It's an interesting thing. It's that detail, isn't it? It's looking at the little details that we often don't think about. Like the simple thing of, I've been working with a client on their website, and my dog is squeaking a new toy, so I hope that's not bothering anyone else. Awesome. It's that we were talking about their website, and we're upgrading their website. They've been on there doing work in the industry for probably 10 years. And they've been manually collecting emails that come through the website. So someone types in an email and they just get that form that comes in. And I'm like, so what do you do with that? And they're like, well, I have that. And I was like, but so you don't have any automations that doesn't go into like a MailChimp or a Drip or a Keep or something? And they're like, what is that? And so what people are doing and what they're offering is so different to what potentially might need. So that idea of asking some questions about, are they going to give me what I need versus what I don't know? I find that really fascinating.
That is really fascinating because one of the big things is handing over your email address is gold. Like, why would I give you my email address unless I was really wanting something from you and I knew that I was going to get some value, some learnings, some discount code or
anything.
And then if you do nothing with it, it's like, oh, those massive wasted opportunities.
I know. That's the thing, is that it's one of the rules and guidelines, but I mean, I know we're talking about rules and guidelines today, but it is about being certain that you're in a safe pair of hands. And checking on things like the security lock on the website is such a simple thing to determine, is this a safe pair of hands that I'm going to play with today?
Absolutely. And Jenni, how often would you hand over your email address?
Less now, but probably at least once a day. I join a new mailing list and I think, I'm interested to see what this person's going to send me.
Yes, I agree. But then very quickly, I'll check out what they've sent me. And if it's not going to resonate with me straight away, or if I'm suddenly feeling like I'm being spammed with too many coming at me, then I'll instantly unsubscribe. One of my biggest jobs in terms of admin in the back end is the endless sorting out of emails and how way too many coming at us all the time.
I'm getting 35 every morning. I wake up and there's about 35 that I'm going through to clear at the moment, but there are 35 emails that come into my inbox between 8 o'clock at night and about 1 o'clock in the morning that I get from all various places. And I'm thinking 35 emails a day, and some of them are the same people that send them to me every single day. And I'm like, what can you possibly be telling me today that's different from yesterday? Because
It is a lot. It is a really
lot.
Big lot. The course that I was doing this morning was all about lead generation and email marketing, etc. So interesting timing with that, because there was a lot of discussion in the chat about people saying how much is too much. So some people were saying, well, a weekly email is a really good thing. So send it out. I like to hear from you weekly, but then perhaps every now and then you've got something big coming up. So maybe an extra 3 per week would be fine. I was instantly thinking, I'm not really sure about that. I like a weekly, and sometimes I don't even send mine out weekly, but I aim for weekly. But I'm a big believer in consistency. So if mine go out every Monday morning or every Friday afternoon or whatever it is, and I'm always testing too. So I'll, change it up every few months and see how it's all going. But I definitely don't think, maybe at most I'd send an extra 1, but I also have so many other ways of reaching people. So, if I was really wanting to push something, then it would be pushing it through my social channels and through stories, etc. It wouldn't just be endless email blasts out there, which is just going to get you more unsubscribes.
I signed up for an email. I signed up to do a discovery call, whatever you want to call it, last week. And from day 4 onwards, I got 1 from the week out, your calls in a week, and then 4 days, are you ready to go on Friday? Then basically every day plus 3 on the morning of. And for me, 7 emails in a 4-day period about a 1-hour phone call was a little bit too much. And I understand they're trying to get me excited and make sure I get on the call and remind me that the call is coming. But it was a little bit like, I think you just kind of hit my ceiling when you get to 3 in 3 days. And then on the morning to get so many that day to say it's coming in an hour, it's coming in 15 minutes, we're ready to go. Come on, people. There's a point where you're like, this is getting too much.
So one of the guys that this morning came up and was spotlighted to ask his question. And he said, I've got this ginormous email list. I'm sending out emails and at least 15% of people are complaining every single time that it's just too much that I'm getting. And I didn't give you permission to do this. And he's like, well, actually, you did. The box was ticked and, blah, blah, blah. He was actually following all the right rules that we can chat about in a second. But what I thought was really interesting is that he kept them on that list. He didn't segment that list, tag them with, I only send to these guys once every few weeks or whatever. Anyway, it was really interesting the way that he was sharing. It was like he was just going to keep hammering it because you should want my emails. And it was quite an intense way of looking at it. And then what happened is that then he finally said who his target market was and who his main group of subscribers, and they were all over 50. And so then the topic was, actually, you know what, maybe they don't even, well, obviously not everyone over 50 doesn't understand, but a lot of people, that might be the main emails that they're getting each week.
Yeah,
they're not flooded with all kinds of marketing stuff coming at them. So if just yours are what's coming in other than family ones or whatever, that's a lot, and you would be feeling really, really overwhelmed with it. So somebody suggested, how about you say when they sign up, right, so in the next 5 days, you're going to get 4 emails because we want to tell you all the things that you've just signed up to. And then after that, it goes down to weekly. Yeah. So be really transparent and letting people understand what's coming at them. Because, I know even with our onboarding and our programs, there's a whole series that happens. And then it reminds them again, if they don't do this, then it will send this again, et cetera, et cetera. So it's all automated, which is great. But of course, that can be overwhelming to people. So just letting them know what to expect straight off the bat. There'll be a reminder sent to you in a couple of days if you haven't done this, because we need you to have done this. So you're in the group, so you're ready for the Zoom or, whatever it is. So I thought that was super interesting, just around expectations and just sharing, and very much thinking about who is your audience. How much do they want to hear from you, and how much is too much?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think I'm a big fan of saying to people, thanks for joining up. You'll get a series of emails in the next couple of weeks or the next couple of days, because it does set expectations. But it also reminds people that when it comes in that it's an important email. So you're actually priming them to say there's something cool coming in your inbox that we want you to look at, rather than that just the emails that come in and it's the constant sales, particularly, going in and around Black Friday and the Cyber Monday sales. It was constant around, you're missing out here. And I think from some of the people that I subscribe to, I was getting, so many emails in the 3 days prior and a couple of days after to try and get to push those sales. Now, I understand there's that sales process, and it's like advertising on television. But when it's in my inbox, I'm going to see it at some point. So when I see 7 of them in that short period of time, my question is, which one do you want me to read? Because I'm not reading them every day, and very few people I think probably do. But which one do you want me to read? What's important? And if it's the same information, did I need to get it that many times?
Absolutely. And that you've really raised a beautiful point, which is that email stays there until you delete it. And that's one of the beautiful things about email marketing compared to social media, is that we know for sure at some point you're going to see it. So sadly, you might not see it for a month and you've missed that big sale or whatever. But you're right, we don't need 7. And one of the things that's super successful, or can be super successful in digital marketing, is that scarcity tactic. So that countdown, that, you've only got 10 hours left or 5 hours left, and then another one, and then another one. And because people don't want to miss out, that special price is going to go, et cetera, et cetera. But on the same token, that to me just kind of overwhelms me. It's pretty off-putting for me. And even though it can work really well in some businesses, I don't want to put that kind of pressure onto people.
No. And I think it really depends on context. I mean, it talks about the context of what you're doing. So if you're selling something that is a really amazing offer that they're time limited, that they're not going to ever get again, that kind of, crazy sale, then maybe that's fine. But I guess for the coaching programs that we do, when we do these coaching programs and we allow people, and people join us, enable people to join us at any point in our coaching programs, that kind of scarcity for me doesn't fit my brand, doesn't fit my need of my business. So I think it really comes back to that conversation we had a couple of weeks ago about showing up and being authentic and aligned with your brand and how you want to show up and the types of information that you want to share.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really interesting one, isn't it?
It is. But let's talk about rules, because I know this has been such an important conversation. You and I have had a lot of conversations offline about rules and rules of engagement and what's right and how you need to engage with on social media, particularly in the current changes that are happening and the constant changes that are happening. So what is why do we care about the rules and the community guidelines and things like that Facebook and all the social media platforms have?
Well, thank goodness for rules. Let's just say that straight off the bat, because without rules, wow, things would just be even more chaotic than they already are. So let's think about email marketing, for example, first. So you've got one issue is that if I just buy an email list, for example, I jump on Fiverr and, pay my money, and someone just does all this, data mining, and I buy, a massive amount of subscribers. Firstly, they didn't give me permission to email them. And somebody brought up this morning actually about, I've got all these people from years and years and years ago when everything was in paper. I've got this massive amount of emails. If I put it into my system, can I email them even though they haven't heard from me in, say, 5 or 10 years' time? And so actually they have handed over their email address to you at some point. But the nice thing to do would be to send them one out saying, hey, I got your email from this. Yeah. I'd still really love to connect with you. And, here's an offer. So some kind of awesome value. So some kind of something that you're giving them to remind them why they might actually want to know about you and connect with you again. Anyway, you will find loads of unsubscribes at that point because they're like, hey, that wasn't relevant. That's no longer relevant to me. That was 5 years ago. Or that was 10 years ago. Or, hey, I don't even remember how I signed up to you or whatever. So being really, really clear how you're doing it. But one of the things that you can do on your website is that you can do the double opt-in. So the double opt-in is a bit of a pain because you'd know that one. It's when you've ticked the box, yes, I'm happy to hear from you, but then it sends you an email and then you need to confirm, yes, I'm definitely happy. That to me is a total pain. But the reason it's so good is it helps you have less chance of going into their spam. So it's a good thing because the double opt-in is going to give you more opportunity to appear somewhere in the inbox, whether, with, for example, with Gmail, you've got all your different categories. I'm sure you have with, what you're using with Microsoft, where you've got the promotions tab or the updates tab and, all of those. So it's definitely going to help you appear in somewhere that you want it to rather than just into spam. But again, it's another step in the process. So not everybody likes to take that step. So you will miss a certain number of them because Yes, it's another, oh, I've got to do that. But also sometimes they don't even see that second little double opt-in one. But it's a really good one, though, to make sure that actually, yes, people really do want to hear from me and it's not going to be going to my spam. So there's all kinds of rules around email marketing. And one is that a lot of people miss out on. So what I've found over time is that people will be collecting email addresses along the way. Well, let's think about your person that you were chatting with who didn't really understand what was happening with those email addresses. They were just collecting them. Now, just say that they put those into their Gmail account and then they sent a big blast out to everybody from that. It wouldn't have any information at the bottom of that email, even giving people the option to unsubscribe. So that's where you're likely to get some quite angry people, and you're going against those rules, really, because when you're doing those kind of mail outs, you need to go through a platform, like whether it's Mad Mimi or MailChimp, or I use Keep, as you know. So with my clients, I use MailChimp because I love it. It's a really great platform that's constantly evolving. And at the bottom of every one of them, there's all these legal requirements, which is, for example, who are you? Where can I find you? What's your legal stuff around your business? And then it's also got your unsubscribe, which is so important. What platform are you using, Jenni?
Yeah, I use MailChimp too. Well, we were using Drip for a while, and Drip was fine, but I find MailChimp so much more, so much easier to use. But I love MailChimp for the disclaimer on the bottom. But what I have been finding a lot of at the moment is emails coming through to me that don't have unsubscribe, and it actually really frustrates me because I'm trying to get out of the mailing list because they're no longer relevant to me, and I actually have to hunt for the unsubscribe list, or instead of saying the word unsubscribe, they've actually relabeled it as something else that says, update your preferences, or if you no longer want to receive this email, click here, because we're looking for that unsubscribe word, but they're actually doing it in a way that makes it harder for you to do it. And of course, if we're doing it on email, if we're doing it quickly, or we're trying to unsubscribe and we can't find it, we go, we'll do it later, we delete. And what happens? You get an email again in 2 days that you didn't want in the first place.
Absolutely. It's a really big one. I've noticed that happening quite a bit too. Also, I've had a scenario with a company where I bought something for my daughter online, and I keep unsubscribing because I'm not interested in that product anymore or what they offer anymore. And they keep adding me back on. So the interesting thing is with MailChimp, for example, and most of those platforms, you cannot actually add them back on, which is a really, really good thing. And so somehow, and I'm not sure what on earth they're doing or how it's happening, but I keep getting added back. And so I keep emailing them and saying, guys, you're actually doing the wrong thing here. This is not okay. I'm choosing to opt out. And so they keep saying it's a glitch. I cannot believe that for 1 minute, because it happens over and over. But what'll end up happening is that I then report them, and they'll get a number of those over time. And that's definitely not what you want. So you've really got to think about your laws and people's privacy policies around all that. One thing that I often would suggest is to jump onto your website and create a page there around the privacy policy and around what you're doing with people's information. So when they buy a product on your website, let people know in that privacy policy what you're going to do with that email address. So it might say that you're going to add it into your email list, or whatever it is, but it's so important to be transparent. Now, not everybody's going to go and read your privacy policy, but at least it's there. It's really clear what it is that you're doing. And of course, every country has their own rules around that.
Yeah. And privacy policies are so important. And there's so many you can find. I mean, there's a number of ways that you can actually create your own. You can look at what another colleague that you might use, or another client or similar industry to look at their privacy policy. You can purchase privacy policies through legal websites, or you can see your lawyer and ask them to have a quick look at it, or a colleague of yours. But privacy policies are, I honestly believe, are one of the most important things. But when it comes to the emails, one of the other things that I've noticed, and I used to do this when I had various different versions of email listings, you can give people the option as to what they want to opt into. And I do this often when I used to run trade show events, and I used to be at trade shows or at events. We would set up our opt-in page that they would complete on an iPad when we're at the stand, and we would say, did you want to know about our events information? And we'd actually give them some options, so that it actually allowed us to segment our market, as you talked about earlier, which is such an easy way to target. But if we had someone interested in our programs, then we knew that very quickly through this very simple opt-in page. And if they actually just wanted general information, we would give that to them, and they didn't get information about the events, or it might be just the monthly newsletter. So you can actually do that really simply, and MailChimp and Keep, and I know do that, Drip do that you can have forms that give you the option to say which marketing list do you want to opt into. So you can do it in a way that allows people to get the information they want. And so you can unsubscribe from one list. And if you want to update your preferences, then you go back in and choose all of them or some of them, or reset it if you like.
Totally. And that's actually a really interesting thing is, so for example, the way that we tag people, so it'll be people that have been on a workshop where I'm at a speaking gig or something like that, so we'll put them on with a certain tag, or it'll be someone that's ever done an Instagram course with me ever, and then if I am launching something new around that, then I can send it out to them and just tag people that have done Instagram over the years.
Yeah,
so it's really awesome way. And also with my not-for-profit, the Bangalore Lionhearts, so we use MailChimp for that mailing list. So one of the things I love about MailChimp is sign-up forms and landing pages and all of that. So you can create a sign-up form that you then integrate, and MailChimp's so brilliant for integration.
yes.
So you can integrate it onto Facebook as an e-news sign-up or whatever you want to call it. Then on that one we have, do you want to help with cooking? Tick that. Do you want to help with driving? Tick that. Do you want to help with donating? Tick that. Or with working bees? So then that automatically segments them when it uploads into MailChimp, just like that. It's all done automatically. I love it. And so then when I go to send out a call out and say, hey, we've got somebody new that needs driving to their chemo appointments, who's available, it goes out just to the people that are interested in driving. So that's so good because it doesn't need to overwhelm everybody with all the requests all the time. So I really enjoy that aspect of it. So MailChimp's such a great way to start. And so many awesome offerings there. I really love it. And in fact, I just recently noticed they have a new thing where you can actually really personalize it and send out postcards in the flesh, physical postcards.
Yeah.
I still, a month later, am waiting to receive my sample. So I'm not actually saying, yes, everybody go and do that yet, because I haven't even, figured it out. But I thought that was really interesting. So what I love is that they're also constantly evolving and trying out new things.
Yeah. And I think that's the way that segmenting your market and choosing what you want to do actually enables you to communicate so much more effectively with your customer. So you give them what they want when they want it, and you say you're not overwhelming them, but they actually start to respect you a little bit more because they go, I can trust you. You're actually doing what I've asked you to do, like that company who won't unsubscribe you. You actually start to lose trust and engagement with them because they're not listening to you. They're not paying attention to what you're asking for, and they're just ignoring that. And if they're doing that in a promo and marketing, imagine what they're like being when you work with them or when you purchase things off them. You're not going to get that customer service level that you expect when they're not even listening to you in that early stage of engagement.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. And then thinking about that person that you said they're not doing anything with those emails, they're actually doing the wrong thing by me in that as well, is that I handed that email address over because I want to hear from them. I want their information, and then I'm not actually getting any information. Right. So that's an interesting one too, isn't it?
It is. So we've talked a lot about email marketing rules, but I'm really interested in around the social rules around Facebook, and because you've talked a lot lately about, particularly on all the socials, about community rules and community guidelines. Tell us what a community guideline is and why we need to be careful of them.
Oh, this is a massive one. A really massive. I just got a message from somebody yesterday who this is her 5th time in 6 weeks that she's been banned and blocked from Facebook. And she sent me a message, said, this is my new account again. And I'm just wanting to connect with you so you don't think it's a hacker or whatever. This is me. And I said, wow, what do you think is going on? Because yes, she got banned and blocked the very first time for the same reason I did, which was letting one of my team log into my personal account. So that's a big no-no. Unfortunately, it's something that many of us do when we have a team, and we're not doing anything untoward with it. They're helping us doing engagement and stuff like that. It's a no-no. I got away with it for 2 years, and then boom, banned and blocked and can't get back on. Thank goodness I do have that backup account. But it's a really tricky one. But that woman, that's the reason it happened to her in the first place too. Since then, it keeps happening over and over and over. And I said to her, are you talking about COVID stuff? Are you putting out triggering kind of posts? Are you talking about health issues? That's a big one that's going to cause you problems. Definitely. Are you talking about, all kinds of things that could be a problem? And she said, what I think it is that my surname is Soul. SOUL.
Oh.
So soul work, all that kind of stuff. That's a bit of a triggering one, around the same way that the health one, anything with health in your name and your business name, whatever, you're going to end up with issues. So yeah, it's a really interesting. She's uploaded her ID multiple times to prove it's actually her name. And all she does, she's got an amazing business that just brings women together, and she has speakers doing Facebook Lives where she interviews them that are all women doing amazing things in the world. So pretty tragic that this is happening for her, and it makes it incredibly hard to run your business. But the frustration around community guidelines is that I know for a fact what I did wrong, but that was one thing. It wasn't that I was posting pictures of nipples, that we all know is a big no-no. I wasn't doing hate crimes or hate speech. I wasn't doing triggering posts around COVID or misinformation or anything like that. I wasn't trying to say to people, hey, I've got the cure for whatever. And, that was not backed up by any data or whatever. I'm literally just there trying to help people do Facebook better for their business. And so it's pretty ironic, really. So the interesting thing is, you break a community guideline, you're not always sure why. And then what happens? There's pretty much no customer service. I say pretty much, I'd like to say none, but there is. It's just that you actually can't really get the help that you need. So you're kind of stuck. So for such a ginormous company, it's quite astounding the lack of support that you can get around it. And where can you go? How can you get help? And particularly around the Facebook ads, people get blocked and banned from their ads account all the time, and it is just bizarre. I've got a client who sells dog treats and dog accessories and things. Her stuff's always getting blocked because she has little treats that she sells, packets, not even their own, they're not even her own brand. She has suppliers that are dehydrated meat. So it might be like dehydrated chicken or whatever. So they keep saying to her that she's selling livestock, which is against community guidelines. She's not, they're dried dog food. So yeah, it's just a minefield out there of really challenging guidelines to try and understand.
I find it really interesting, particularly when Facebook, the Facebook model is around using it for business. The whole purpose of it is about scaling your business through Facebook. They talk about doing that. They talk about using the groups and engaging people on a global level so that you can scale your business and use it to really engage with people. So we know that as a business structure, the owner of the business, the owner of the account cannot manage all the aspects of their business. We talk about that. There are many people online that talk about delegating and finding better systems or processes to do your work. So it astounds me that the community guidelines that Facebook are doing are not including an area or not including a system that allows us to say, these are the 5 people who work in my business. These are the 3 people who support me delivering my business, delivering my message. So these are authorized people to sign in. So there'd be such an easy way for them to enable us to connect with our team using the platform, and it would actually encourage people to do it more, because they would be like, well, I don't have time to post on Facebook, but you know what, my team can. So if we actually were able to create a team account where you had that connection so people can log in for you and do that work and be part of the community guidelines, they would actually enable them to grow connections and actually I actually think more people would end up posting and moving their business into the Facebook space, because it gives them that flexibility to do that and still abide by the rules.
And you look at the differences between Facebook and Instagram, for example. So on Facebook, you absolutely have to have a personal account, and then from a personal account you can create business pages, business groups, et cetera, but it must be based around one person's personal account. Instagram, on the other hand, is anyone can have the login and in you go. And it can be just a business account with no personal anything. However, something just happened to us recently, and it's super frustrating, and I'm going to be fascinated watching what unfolds from here on. But they've asked me to do my Face ID to log into Instagram now. So it wasn't just that I could upload a picture or anything. I had to put my face in all these different angles as it did this whole round and round thing. So now my team can't log into our business Instagram. So not only that, we can't connect it any longer to, how when you post on Instagram, I could then auto post to Facebook. I can't do any of that anymore. We can't connect it up and create a studio. It's just extraordinary. And again, there's no one to get help from. So I'm intrigued to see what's going to be happening with Instagram and if they're going to be changing that. So again, it's just a one-person thing. And as you said, it makes no sense because we all want to be on there. And you know what? We're spending money in ads, etc., and we're bringing more people to the platform. So why on earth this is going on is
it does seem very strange. It's almost pushing us back to the days when it was just personal and there was no business on Facebook. And you're wondering whether or not there is, with the new Meta, whether there is a new platform coming that is separating the business and personal that we'll have to pay for to be able to use access and you have a business page and have a business profile. But I guess that's where I love things like LinkedIn, where LinkedIn enables you to have a business page. You can have it connected to people, but anybody can go in and create a business page. You can have multiple admins that on your account, on your personal account, to allow you to actually access and connect and post. And it makes it so much easier because it's designed. They recognize that you're trying to scale your business through LinkedIn. So it's actually set up to enable you to do that.
And Pinterest is the same. Anyone can log into that, for example. But have you noticed on Facebook lately on your own newsfeed and particularly on your notifications, it's almost all notifications that businesses have done. But how people have reacted on your business account, you're seeing very little at the moment of what's going on your personal.
Actually, now that you've said that, I have noticed that recently that it is a lot about the business in both my groups and my personal page, and so my business page. But I'm not getting those notifications of people who are either commenting or seeing even posts done by my colleagues or my friends.
So we all know that when you stop seeing things that you want to see, so whether it's from your friends or from pages that you follow or groups that you're in, the reason is largely because you haven't been interacting with them. When you're not engaging, that's telling the Facebook algorithm, actually, and the Instagram, of course, and all of them, that actually you're not that interested. So therefore, it shows you less and less and less. So if there's things that you want to hear from or see, you need to be giving them a little emoji, giving them a little like, tagging a friend, sharing it, whatever, engaging, show the algorithm, actually, this is stuff I like and I want to see more of it. But I have plenty of those. I'm really big on engagement. I'll always chat in the comments when a friend's put up a post on their personal page, etc. So it's interesting to me that the algorithm has changed so much again that I'm actually not seeing that stuff. And I was talking with a client last night who said, even on her personal, she would normally get around about, particularly, she knows the certain topics she can post about, and she'll get straight away, there'll be 168 likes. And there'll be, at least 10 comments of people commenting about something to do with her family or whatever. She said for the last couple of weeks, there's been nothing. And she's like, I'm sure no one is seeing it. So she takes it off, she reposts it again at another time, see what's happening when she knows all her friends are on, and nothing. So I said to her, it's because we're seeing more of business and particularly sponsored posts and less of anything personal. And it's super frustrating.
I find that incredibly frustrating. And I think the constant change in the rules without that communication, it's all, I kind of feel like we're lab rats and we're being beta tested all the time in terms of what the reactions and what the responses are. And I mean, we know that websites do that. I had a great conversation with someone years ago about the Seek website, which at any one time can have up to 10 different sites that they're using and they're trailing globally to see, the position of the buttons and the way the language is done. So they're constantly showing. So you never really quite know which particular site you have, because they're constantly doing testing on the different front pages of their site, which is a great way to kind of understand engagement. But when you're doing that and it's actually impacting the way that you're engaging with the information and being able to see what you want to see and not being able to see the post that you want to because they keep changing that, it does become incredibly frustrating. And it does go to your point that we've talked about so many times, that Facebook is about engagement, but then you've got to get them off Facebook or any social platform into an email list or into a webinar or into somewhere where you can connect with them in person or in reality, so that you can actually create and build that engagement, because you don't own your data on Facebook.
Absolutely. So really, you need to be thinking about what are the regulations and what are the laws on whatever platform. So around websites and data collection and what you do with the data and privacy laws, with email, about making sure people, how did you get those emails in there and are you allowing them to unsubscribe easily? Around Facebook, are you posting things that are actually allowed? Because yes, it seems odd that you can't post a nipple, particularly when it's to do with a company that sells breastfeeding products or, whatever it is. So, it's super interesting what those rules are. But, at the same time, we're glad that there are rules at all. So really make sure that you educate yourself on the platforms you're on. What are the rules around that? We talk a fair bit about that in our Hello Media Facebook group. And there's also people that you can follow to get more information. So for example, Adam Mosseri, who is the CEO of Instagram, follow him on Instagram and find out what he's saying that's, you know, something new or something different, because you'll notice that they tend to share things a little in advance and give little snippets of what's to come. And with Facebook, obviously, you can follow Mark Zuckerberg and he'll tell you what's going on. And I notice with him particularly, he's very good at dropping these little hints into things, and then you'll start to work out what's coming. But if that's a bit too much, then really what you can just do is, you know, join a group like Hello Media Facebook group and find out when we share the stuff that we think are the important bits where changes are happening. So yeah, it can be very overwhelming. And if you just Google Facebook rules, obviously you can go to Facebook's page and find them, but keep in mind that they change all the time. Community guidelines change all the time. I put a post in the group a couple of weeks ago about around health and how they're going to be not letting any of that go through because they, and I get that they're trying to keep people from so much triggering. But one thing I wanted to mention, Jenny, is have you heard about what's happening? In fact, I'm wondering now, did I bring it up with you last week about what's happened with Lush Cosmetics? So
yes, about them taking them completely removing themselves and making a stand around removing themselves off it because they don't want to buy into the hype around. I think we talked about it offline, about buying into the hype of the noise around COVID and everything else that's been talked about.
So actually what it was is it's about for teens and the damage that it's doing to their mental health. So they don't want to be any part of that. So they've removed themselves from Facebook, Instagram, etc. What is interesting is that when you count up their Instagram accounts altogether, it's about 6 million people. They've removed every post they ever had on any of those platforms. They've put up a group of 9 that states really clearly what they've done and why they've done it. They have been slammed. At least more than a third of their comments are people slamming them about the terrible way that they treat their staff. The other third of them are slamming them which this is the bit that I agree with, saying, you know what, though, you have the opportunity. You can't change it. It's still going to be there. Removing yourself from it is sort of just like burying your head in the sand. But what you have got the opportunity to do, especially with the demographic of audience that you've got and the number of people that you've got, is actually start putting some really positive messages out there. Giving people options to, hey, instead of scrolling right now, why don't you go and run yourself a bath and, listen to some beautiful music for self-care or whatever. So removing yourself isn't necessarily going to fix it. But what I found really interesting about their whole tactic is that they're still on Twitter.
Yeah.
So I'm like, really? That's fascinating to me. Isn't Twitter like one of the worst for getting stuff out there and getting caught up in a whole lot of angsty chaos?
Yeah.
So very interesting. So on one hand, I think, okay, maybe I partly agree that that's nice. You're making a stand and removing yourself, but actually you've got the opportunity to do some really amazing good in the world. So
yeah. And I think we forget there's that kind of hype piece, isn't it? There's a kind of we forget the value of the program, the platforms that we're using, but we also forget the impact we have when we try and make stands like that, or where we think we're doing the right thing. And it's that kind of knee-jerk response of, oh, we'll just do this, but we need to keep one. But it sends a mixed message. It doesn't actually say that you're really committed to this kind of stand and this value that you're doing because you're choosing to stay on there. It's much easier to say, we're making a choice of no longer being in this space, but you're still part of it by being on Twitter. And there is so many challenges with Twitter, as you say, and particularly with some of the negative comments that can come out on Twitter that people can just throw out because it's that bite size throwing out a little bit, but it doesn't, it's my opinion. Does it really matter? And it does. It's that compounding effect. So yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah, there's less community going on Twitter. Yeah. So at least on Facebook, you can create an incredibly positive community. So I definitely thought that was super interesting, and it'll be interesting to watch that space. But you know what? I had a moment when I was looking at their accounts and just thinking, wow, as a marketer, how devastating. All those people for all those years that have created all that amazing content, it's just wiped. That
Yeah.
makes me so sad for those marketers, those designers, those content creators that's just had everything gone. It's like, oh, slap in the face to you. Your work for how many years is just gone.
Just disappeared. Yeah, no, that's actually a really good point. So Sophia asked about LinkedIn. So Sophia, I have LinkedIn connected to our well, we have a number of ways that we get into LinkedIn, but LinkedIn is a much easier platform that you can post on for other people. It doesn't have the same two-factor accreditation, the same requirements that Facebook do to get on, but it also, you can connect it to things like Hootsuite and other, other platforms that allow your team to log in and post for you.
Yeah, Sophia's actually asked me yesterday about LinkedIn, and I said I actually don't even know, because I haven't delved into LinkedIn enough to know the rules. But I noticed a masterclass that was being put up by someone I brought in as a speaker on LinkedIn, who is Carmen. I'm just having a moment where I can't remember her name, but anyway, I'll put the details in the chat, because she'd be great to connect with. Bit of a LinkedIn expert. I don't like to throw the word expert around too much, but Jenni, do you really love hanging out on LinkedIn?
I used to do it a lot more when I was in the corporate space, and I'm actually getting back in there, because the reality is a lot of my clients are moving into that space, and I'm doing a lot more work and consulting work in that kind of multinational kind of larger company space. So it's the space where my clients are. And it's a really great, what I love about LinkedIn is the type of communities that they're creating. It's very much about information sharing. The way that the information is shared and it shows up, to me, feels a lot more, it's more corporate, of course, but it just resonates more with me, because it doesn't have the same, I don't know, it just feels different on LinkedIn than it does on Facebook. I can't explain why. I can say they have the same post read it on Facebook and read it on LinkedIn, and it just feels different in that environment. The comments are a little bit different. I don't find the engagement as good on LinkedIn at the moment, but then I haven't probably spent as much time as I should to build that engagement.
And for me, again, it comes back down to that community piece, and what kind of a community you're trying to build. So for me, Facebook's a wonderful place for that, because of I've got a number of Facebook groups, and I love to be in there and engaging with people, and they can ask questions, and you can share a whole lot easier. And plus, as you know, more people see your content when you post in a Facebook group than they do other places. So for now,
100%. I think in terms of engagement, in terms of the number of people seeing it, you're going to get a lot, and that immediate engagement that you get, because people hang out on Facebook a lot more than they do on LinkedIn. You tend to go onto LinkedIn, or I do at least, to spend some time on there, make some connections, read some posts, and then I'm off again. I don't have it buzzing for notifications on my phone in the same way that I do Facebook or Instagram. And so, and maybe you want to do that, but then it's about having, how many notifications do you want? Do you want all the platforms buzzing at you, telling you that there's notifications? And you probably don't. So it's choosing which platform is going to resonate with you and the message you want to share.
A couple of years ago, I took off all my notifications. So I don't get email notifications or Facebook or Instagram or anything. I just choose certain times in the day when I go on and see what I need to see. But I felt that it was really too much, like way too much.
Agreed.
It means that I'm not focused on what I'm meant to be doing at the time either.
Same with emails and so many other things. I have internal rules and processes around how I manage socials and emails and stuff during the day, so that I'm not getting distracted, and I'm not, I'm able to do the work I need to do and not get distracted by the noise around.
Yeah.
Whole other conversation though.
I'm working on the weekend too, and I want to send, we have a messenger chat team with my team. So I want to be sending them things if I'm working on the weekend, but I'm really sure that they've got those notifications off, and they'll turn them back on Monday morning. Yeah. And then if I'm not working on the weekend, which is thankfully most weekends I'm not, then I have mine turned off, because clients will message me, et cetera, et cetera. They know that from Friday night till Monday morning, it's I'm not going to respond. No. So it was just making all of that really clear, I think, is super important. So
100%. It's been an awesome conversation. I just realized we've been talking for so long. It's been amazing, because we often do that. Not even realize the time. I didn't either. Everyone's watching us and joining us today, because we have had a fairly meandering conversation, which has been so great today.
I've got a great topic for us next week, yes. Jenni, because we're leading up to Christmas. How can we get more sales, more bookings, all those things that are really going to ramp it up, so that we can really make the most of these next couple of weeks or next few weeks as rather than winding down. So pump it up. Don't drop it and drop the ball.
Pumping up your business at the end of the year.
Yeah, that's a beautiful one, Jenny. I love it. I've got some great ideas to share, and I know you will have as well.
Definitely.
So let's talk about pumping up the business at the end of the year.
But before we go, I do want to talk about our amazing thing that we're doing next week, that we're running next week.
Yes.
About our masterclasses. And it's been so long since we've done a collaboration together. I am so excited about this because everybody knows how much I love goal setting and habits and creating really good business plans that allow you to actually thrive and grow your business. And you're all about creating, social media strategies that are actually going to, grow and engage clients with awesome content that they can do and that's easy to do. And we're combining those two things for a masterclass starting next week.
I'm super pumped about that. A little mini series. So 2 half days. Next Wednesday is the first one, and then Wednesday, the 12th of January. So we have half of it that, sets us up at the end of the year, and then the second half to just get us really going at the beginning of the year. So I'm super excited. We've got it at 70% off because we know that, so many people have just had such a tough year or two. And so we've got it at a crazy, crazy good price. So you can jump on that and grab it, and we'll put the link in the caption. Definitely. And hope we can see you there.
It would be amazing. I think it's a nice, just short sharp sessions. We like to be targeted. We like practical conversations and practical outcomes. And over these 2 sessions, you'll definitely get some really good habits, some good goal setting, and also an outline of your business plan that aligns with your marketing strategy and vice versa. So people know what content they're doing and why they're doing that content, what it's going to help, how it's going to help their business.
Yay. And we have lots of resources and templates to share with everyone. So it's going to be awesome and totally set you up for a really good year for growth.
Definitely. So how can people find you on Facebook or all your socials?
hellomedia.team. Jump on there on the website, and there's links to our socials, links to the webinars that you can join, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, the link on there under offerings to buy the masterclass, that masterclass mini series at 70% off. And what about you, Jenny? How can people find you?
So at Elephant in the Room AU on Insta and Facebook are the places I tend to hang out the most. You can find me at Jenni Walke on LinkedIn or at our website, eitrconsulting.com. And we've got links to everywhere else that you can find us. And we would love to connect with you.
Beautiful. I love it. And can I just say, I love your earrings.
Thank you.
Every week I look forward to your earrings. Tell us about these ones.
These are also from Black Designs. They're an Indigenous business. I love them because they're leather, and so they're really, really light. So sometimes metal I find gets a little bit heavy. So they're beautiful leather printed on. Yeah, and I love them. And just the design and the attention to detail, which I know seems really silly, but simple things like if people love earrings like me, how often do the backs come off, like the pieces come off because the glue fades? They've embedded it in between 2 pieces of leather so that it's like beautifully secure, and they're like, the quality is amazing. I love this brand. So they're Black Designs, BLAK Designs.
Oh, I love it. An Indigenous business.
Yep, always. I need to buy some more because I think I've actually outrun all. So I need to be buying earrings for Christmas. I think that's going to be my, I should have made myself an earrings advent calendar, I think. Yeah. And I've had 24 pairs of earrings for Christmas.
My mom sent me a T2 advent calendar.
Oh my gosh.
It's a new tech, which is exciting. Last year it was a wine advent calendar, so it's much better for me this year.
I did look at a wine advent calendar and decided I should abstain this year from the wine advent calendar. It was in my shopping cart for a while. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, good on us for choosing a better path, Jenny.
Yeah. Well, you have an amazing week. I look forward to talking next week about what we're going to talk about. So my brain just completely stopped then. So
Christmas. Ramping it up for Christmas.
Pumping up the end of the year so we can get as many sales and actually end the year off on a high, and then we can start the new year in a really great place. I love that idea.
Beautiful. Me too. All right, Jenny, I look forward to seeing you next Friday, and thanks everyone for joining us.
See you later, everyone. Bye.
Bye.